Hello and welcome to Game Discussions. Today I want to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake. So the Final Fantasy VII Remake, we're definitely getting it. It's in development and we've seen screenshots. I've done a bit of Googling and it looks like we're going to be hearing more about this game in the near future, hopefully in 2019. But what I want to address here is, will Kingdom Hearts 3 impact on this? And I think the answer in my mind is definitely. Given that the games were both made and produced at the same time and have kind of the same person overseeing both, it means then you have the possibility of one franchise, the ideas that they've got for one maybe bleeding over into another one. And already Kingdom Hearts has some characters from Final Fantasy in it anyway. So that already has some influence from that series in there. But really, I think that when it comes out anyway, it means that Square can put a lot more resource into actually making Final Fantasy VII Remake. But there are some problems we could see. Let's talk about those. Okay, so the best case scenario is that Kingdom Hearts 3 is a roaring success. It comes out and Square are vindicated in their idea of using the same person to oversee both that and Final Fantasy VII Remake. We know then that they made the right choice to do both games at the same time. But then let's look at other possible scenarios. We look at, well, Kingdom Hearts 3 does well, and they think, well, okay, we've got the right man in charge for Kingdom Hearts, but Final Fantasy VII does really badly. Okay, so he's worked well with one. He was the right man for the job for one of the games, but not both. Okay, so that's not good. If Kingdom Hearts 3 does really, really badly and is slated by fans, we could see our overseer friend taking off Final Fantasy VII altogether and it given to a new production or team or another producer stroke director. And that would mean that we would see probably even more delays, and we don't want that. So really, I think folks would be wanting Kingdom Hearts 3 to succeed a lot. Not just fans of it, but fans of Final Fantasy VII as well, because it would mean then that Square would have the faith to keep with the same person producing and directing Final Fantasy VII. So that's kind of where we are. So really, a lot hinges on how well Kingdom Hearts 3 does, and not just amongst the hardcore fans, but amongst the gaming public in general and how well it sells. If it flies to a million units and is praised by critics, it's going to be great. So let's also talk about kind of how Kingdom Hearts is also possibly going to affect Final Fantasy in its development. Already we're hearing that we're not going to get a turn-based battling system in Final Fantasy VII Remake. We're not seeing the same battling system. We're seeing a more dynamic battling system. People are likening it to Kingdom Hearts and possibly Final Fantasy 15, which is a bit of a shame because if it's Kingdom Hearts, we might be able to control all our different characters in battle. If it's a Final Fantasy 15 style battling system, if you've not played 15, the way that battling system works is that you have one main character and the other characters around them are controlled by the computer, although you can give them commands and say, I want you to be more defensive, or I want you to attack more, or I want you to choose magic, or I don't want you to choose magic, that kind of thing. So you can give them top level commands, but by and large, the computer is going to execute those commands, and you really have no real say on the nuance of how they attack, which is a bit of a shame. Really, I think the characters in that game definitely weren't being able to be controlled individually and have people use them and be able to actually have automacy over them. But I honestly don't know. It might become a bit difficult in actually trying to come up with a system that works for that, because games in the past have tried it, and allowing you to swap characters on the fly isn't really always easy. Star Ocean 4, for example, Last Hope, did it, but it restricted you in the battle arena to just a small space. I was talking Final Fantasy VII Remake of having the battles occur in map, which means you're not taken anywhere. They happen. You run into an enemy and you fight them in the level, like you do with 15. And there's destructible bits around, possibly, or parts of the map you can use to your advantage. The good points about having them occur in world is that you will see the person standing there and you can run past them. So I suppose it takes away the slog and the randomness of it all, and having to battle those characters again and again and again and again and again. Not great if you want to level up. If you want to speedrun the game, it's good. But if you're looking to actually level up, it could be a bit of a pain, because sometimes with these games, you have a limited number of enemies in the area. You might only have one kind of cluster of enemies, and so you have to leave the area and come back again so they can respawn and you can battle them. 15 had it probably the right idea with that, is that the enemies just kept getting airdropped in, and at night time you would fight kind of stronger monsters, and the monsters would just kind of pop up out of the ground or whatever, and you would actually encounter them. They would be there, and they would maybe respawn every now and again. So if it's something like that, if there's maybe like a spawn point for them, rather than just kind of appearing out of nowhere, then that would be quite useful. Another massive thing, nothing to do with Kingdom Hearts in a way, because that does kind of have that as worlds, each one built around a different Disney franchise. But what they talk about with 7 is that it's going to be such a big game, we're not going to see the whole game in one go. Despite the fact that the original game came out on 3 discs, I suppose you could call them volumes if you like. Volume 1, 2 and 3 all came in one big collection. This game is going to be so big we're going to see it in episodes. So we're looking at possible an episodic release, which it might work, it might not. It might really, really irritate people in that if each part is full price game for a third or a quarter of the experience, it means that you're looking at shelling out £50 plus per version, per release. Which means if you've got 3, you're talking £150 worth of game. And given that most games are only £50 or 45 thereabouts, or $50, $60, €50, €60, having to pay that for each individual part is going to really rocket the price. The only upside of doing this, I think, for me, is that if there's a certain part of the game you are fond of, there's a certain aspect in the story, there's a certain part of the story you like. You might not like the beginning, but you like the middle bit. Obviously, you could just buy that on its own. Now, what are they going to do about this? The system, how is it going to work then with leveling? Is when you buy the second part and the third part, is it going to look at your saves and go, right, you've got this higher level, these items, you've done this, this, and this, but not that, and kind of allow you to carry on? Or is it going to allow you to actually start anew and have it kind of work sort of as a new game or not? That's the question we're going to have here. Will these actually work as standalone parts, or will you have to own part 1 in order to play part 2? Because I think that this is going to be a big problem. because like I said, you might not like the very beginning. The very beginning is quite slow, and it does in the original does plod along. There's a lot of talking. There's a lot of inaction at the beginning of Final Fantasy VII. I don't want to talk too much about the story, but there is a point I think that I've read too that we're going to get to in the first part. And it could be that it's not actually that far into the game. So you might say that bit's a bit dull, it's a bit boring, it's a bit slow. Then again, this game, if you've played it before, this game is definitely quite a slow, ploddy game in the beginning. There's a lot of narrative, there's a lot of story involved. See, you might not like the first part. See, you might like the second part. Can you just jump into the middle? I don't know if they're going to do this or not. Can they work together? Well, they're going to have to work together, but can they work as standalone parts as well? I'm guessing with other episodic games, probably not. So it means that if you like this game, you're going to have to buy every part. Which, if, like I said, if it's going to be £40, £50 a go, £40 a go, you're £120 for a game, which is nuts. If you think about it, to actually play the entirety of the game is going to be crazy. When you could probably pick up, if you go online, you can pick up the original, which I did years ago, an unscratched copy or good condition for about £25, which is for the original game. It's still quite a lot of money to pay for an old game, but it's still £25. So we really don't know much about what's going to happen with this game episodically. Hopefully we'll hear more. Hopefully we'll hear more this year. The other main concern I'm going to have with this game is this. What if we see part 1 on current gen consoles and part 2 and 3 on next gen consoles? Will they stay on next gen consoles? First of all, will part 1 get ported? Will part to the new gen? Will parts 2 and 3 get ported back to the older versions to allow people to buy them, to play them? Otherwise, you could see people having to buy another console just to play part 1. We don't know. I just think it's going to be one of these things that either they release the whole lot on the current gen consoles, or they wait and release it on the next gen consoles. If it was just all out in one game, then I think that releasing it on this consoles and the next ones, that could very well be the end of the generation we're seeing. There's a lot to talk about. I'm hoping that I start or carry on a discussion. And to get back to the topic, I think that Kingdom Hearts 3 will definitely have an impact on Final Fantasy VII Remake. It just remains to be seen when that game comes out. I'm not a massive fan of Kingdom Hearts, but I want to see this game do well, because it would mean that we're going to see full steam ahead with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Otherwise, it could be that we could get stuck in development hell. And if that happens, then I hope they kind of hold off and put it into the next gen consoles. If we're getting next gen consoles, I don't know. So let me know what you think about where we stand with this game in the comments below. Thank you for your time. Cheers.